Chapter 1. Beginnings in Amiens. Amiens is a charming city in northern France. Known for its beautiful cathedral and quiet streets, it is a place where history and modern life meet. On a cold December day in 1977, Emmanuel Macron was born here. His parents, Jean-Michel and Françoise, were both doctors. They were proud to welcome their first son into the world. Emmanuel grew up in a warm and supportive family. He had two younger siblings, Laurent and Estelle. The Macron household was filled with books, music, and lively conversations. Jean-Michel and Françoise encouraged their children to be curious and to explore the world around them. From a young age, Emmanuel showed signs of being different. He was an inquisitive child who loved to read. He would spend hours with his nose buried in a book, losing himself in stories of far-off lands and brave heroes. His parents noticed his passion for learning and supported him in every way they could. Emmanuel's early school years were full of excitement and discovery. He attended the Jésuites de la Providence, a private school in Amiens. The school was known for its strict discipline and high academic standards. Emmanuel thrived in this environment. He was a bright student who always wanted to know more. His teachers quickly noticed his intelligence and curiosity. Emmanuel had a natural talent for language and literature. He loved to write stories and essays, often staying up late to finish his work. His teachers would read his essays and marvel at his ability to express complex ideas with clarity and style. But Emmanuel was not just a bookworm. He also enjoyed playing sports and spending time with his friends. He loved playing the piano, a passion he inherited from his grandmother. His days were filled with activities, and he seemed to excel at everything he tried. One day, when Emmanuel was about 12 years old, something happened that would change his life forever. His school organized a theatre club, and Emmanuel decided to join. He had never acted before, but he was eager to try something new. The theatre club was run by Brigitte, a passionate and dedicated teacher. Brigitte was a talented drama teacher who loved working with students. She saw something special in Emmanuel from the very first day. He was confident, articulate, and had a natural talent for acting. Brigitte encouraged him to take on challenging roles and helped him develop his skills. Under Brigitte's guidance, Emmanuel blossomed. He discovered a new passion for theatre and performance. He loved the feeling of stepping into someone else's shoes and bringing a character to life. The theatre club became a second home for him, a place where he could express himself and explore new ideas. Emmanuel's parents were pleased to see their son so happy and engaged. They supported his involvement in the theatre club and attended all his performances. They could see that Brigitte was having a positive influence on him, and they were grateful for her guidance. As Emmanuel grew older, his bond with Brigitte deepened. She became more than just a teacher. She was a mentor and a friend. They would spend hours discussing literature, politics, and philosophy. Brigitte challenged Emmanuel to think critically and to question everything. She encouraged him to dream big and to never settle for less. Emmanuel's relationship with Brigitte was not always easy. Some people in the community frowned upon their close bond, but Emmanuel and Brigitte did not let this deter them. They knew they had something special, and they were determined to protect it. In the classroom, Emmanuel continued to excel. He was at the top of his class and won several academic awards. His teachers praised him for his intelligence and work ethic. Emmanuel had big dreams for the future. He wanted to make a difference in the world and was willing to work hard to achieve his goals. Outside of school, Emmanuel enjoyed spending time with his family. They would often go on trips to the countryside where they would hike and explore nature. These trips were a welcome break from the hustle and bustle of city life. Emmanuel cherished these moments and the time spent with his loved ones. As he approached the end of his time at the Jésuites de la Providence, Emmanuel began to think about his future. He knew he wanted to continue his studies and pursue a career that would allow him to make a difference. With Brigitte's encouragement, he decided to apply to the prestigious Lycée Henri Ward in Paris. Getting into Lycée Henri IV was no easy task. The school was known for its rigorous admissions process and high academic standards. But Emmanuel was determined. He worked tirelessly on his application, pouring his heart and soul into his essays. When the acceptance letter finally arrived, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was a new chapter in his life, and he was ready for the challenge. Leaving Amiens was bittersweet. Emmanuel was excited to move to Paris and start this new adventure, but he knew he would miss his family and friends. He promised to visit often and stay in touch. As he boarded the train to Paris, he felt a surge of anticipation. This was just the beginning. He was ready to take on the world and make his mark. In Paris, Emmanuel quickly adapted to his new surroundings. Lycée Henri Ward was a vibrant and dynamic school. The students were driven and passionate, and the teachers were some of the best in the country. Emmanuel thrived in this environment. He continued to excel academically and developed new interests and friendships. Despite the distance, Emmanuel stayed in close contact with Brigitte. They would write letters and talk on the phone, sharing their thoughts and experiences. Brigitte continued to be a source of inspiration and guidance for Emmanuel. She encouraged him to pursue his dreams and to never lose sight of what was important. As he looked back on his time in Amiens, Emmanuel felt a deep sense of gratitude. His experiences there had shaped him into the person he was becoming. The support of his family, the encouragement of his teachers, and his bond with Brigitte had all played a crucial role in his journey. He knew that the future held many challenges and opportunities, and he was ready to face them head-on. The city of Amiens would always hold a special place in Emmanuel's heart. It was the place where his dreams began, where he discovered his passions, and where he formed lasting relationships. As he moved forward, he carried the lessons he had learned with him, ready to make a difference in the world, and to continue growing and learning. Chapter 2. The Encounter. Emmanuel Macron's life was about to change in a way he never imagined. It all began on a sunny afternoon in Amiens, where he attended the Jésuites de la Providence, a well-respected private school. Emmanuel, a bright and curious teenager, had just joined the school's theatre club. The club was an exciting escape for him, a place where he could express himself and explore new ideas. One day, as Emmanuel entered the club's rehearsal room, he saw a new face. Brigitte Trogneux, the new drama teacher, stood at the front of the room, organising scripts and setting up props. She was confident and graceful, with an aura of warmth and intelligence that drew people to her. Emmanuel, along with the other students, was intrigued. Brigitte began the rehearsal with a brief introduction. She had a background in literature and a passion for theatre. Her love for drama was evident in the way she spoke, and she quickly captured the students' attention. Emmanuel was particularly captivated. He listened intently, eager to learn from her. The first play they were to perform was a classic French comedy. Emmanuel was given a significant role, and he was both excited and nervous. Brigitte noticed his enthusiasm and decided to help him personally. She spent extra time with him after rehearsals, guiding him through his lines and helping him understand his character. Emmanuel appreciated her dedication and began to look forward to their sessions. As they rehearsed, Emmanuel and Brigitte's conversations extended beyond the script. They talked about literature, philosophy, and politics. Emmanuel was fascinated by Brigitte's knowledge and insight. She introduced him to new books and ideas, challenging him to think deeply and critically. In turn, Brigitte was impressed by Emmanuel's intellect and eagerness to learn. Despite their age difference, they found common ground in their love for learning and the arts. One afternoon, after a particularly intense rehearsal, Brigitte suggested they take a walk to clear their minds. They strolled through the school's gardens, discussing the play and sharing stories about their lives. Emmanuel felt comfortable with Brigitte, as if he could talk to her about anything. She had a way of making him feel understood and valued. During one of their walks, Brigitte shared a personal story. She told Emmanuel about her own school days and how she had fallen in love with theatre. Her eyes sparkled with passion as she spoke, and Emmanuel felt a deep connection to her. He realized that Brigitte wasn't just a teacher, she was a mentor and a friend. Their bond grew stronger with each rehearsal. Emmanuel began to excel in his role, thanks to Brigitte's guidance. He felt more confident on stage and more sure of himself off it. Brigitte's belief in him gave him the courage to take risks and push his limits. As the day of the performance approached, the whole theatre club was buzzing with excitement. The students worked tirelessly to perfect their roles, and Brigitte was there every step of the way, encouraging and supporting them. Emmanuel felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. He wanted to make Brigitte proud. On the night of the performance, the auditorium was filled with students, parents, and teachers. Emmanuel took a deep breath as he stepped onto the stage. He could see Brigitte in the front row, her eyes fixed on him, a reassuring smile on her face. Her presence gave him strength. The play was a success. The audience laughed and applauded, and Emmanuel felt a rush of joy and relief. After the final curtain call, he looked for Brigitte in the crowd. She came up to him, her eyes shining with pride. "You were fantastic, Emmanuel," she said, hugging him. "I knew you could do it." Emmanuel beamed with happiness. "Thank you, Brigitte. I couldn't have done it without you." Their success in the play marked the beginning of a special relationship. Emmanuel continued to work with Brigitte in the theatre club, taking on more challenging roles and growing as an actor and a person. He looked forward to their discussions and valued her opinions and advice. However, their bond was not without challenges. Some people in the school began to notice how close they were and started to gossip. Emmanuel heard whispers and saw judgmental looks, but he tried to ignore them. He knew that his relationship with Brigitte was special and based on mutual respect and admiration. One day, Emmanuel's parents were called to the school. They were concerned about the rumours and wanted to understand what was happening. Brigitte and Emmanuel met with them, explaining their connection and the positive impact it had on Emmanuel's development. Jean-Michel and Françoise listened carefully. They saw how much Emmanuel had grown under Brigitte's guidance and how passionate he was about theatre. They realized that Brigitte was not just a teacher to him. She was a mentor who was helping him discover his potential. After the meeting, Jean-Michel and Françoise decided to support their son's passion. They attended his performances and encouraged his involvement in the theatre club. They also got to know Brigitte better and appreciated her dedication to Emmanuel's education. As time went on, Emmanuel and Brigitte's bond deepened. They continued to challenge each other intellectually and creatively. Brigitte helped Emmanuel prepare for his exams and supported his decision to apply to Lycée Henri Favre in Paris. She knew he had the potential to achieve great things and wanted to help him reach his goals. When Emmanuel received his acceptance letter to Lycée Henri Favre, he was thrilled. He shared the news with Brigitte, who was equally excited. She knew this was a big step for him and encouraged him to embrace the opportunity. On the day Emmanuel left for Paris, Brigitte gave him a book. It was a collection of plays by Molière, one of their favourite playwrights. Inside the book, she had written a note. "Emmanuel, never stop dreaming and believing in yourself. You have a bright future ahead. With all my best wishes, Brigitte." Emmanuel was touched by her gift and her words. He promised to stay in touch and to continue pursuing his dreams. As he boarded the train to Paris, he felt a mix of emotions. He was excited about the future, but knew he would miss Brigitte and the special bond they shared. In Paris, Emmanuel thrived. Lycée Henri Favre was challenging, but he was prepared. He carried with him the lessons he had learned from Brigitte and the confidence she had instilled in him. He made new friends and discovered new passions, but he never forgot his time in Amiens and the teacher who had made such a difference in his life. Emmanuel and Brigitte continued to stay in touch, exchanging letters and phone calls. Their bond remained strong, and Brigitte continued to be a source of inspiration for Emmanuel. She encouraged him to pursue his dreams and to always stay true to himself. Looking back, Emmanuel realized how much Brigitte had influenced his life. She had opened his mind to new possibilities and had given him the confidence to chase his dreams. Their encounter had been a turning point, setting him on a path that would shape his future. As he stood on the balcony of his Paris apartment, Emmanuel looked out at the city and thought about the journey ahead. He knew there would be challenges, but he felt ready to face them. With Brigitte's encouragement and his own determination, he was confident that he could achieve anything he set his mind to. Chapter 3. An Unconventional Bond. Emmanuel and Brigitte's relationship continued to grow after their first theatre production together. Despite their age difference, they found themselves drawn to each other through their shared love of literature, theatre, and deep conversations. But this bond was not without its challenges. Society, their families, and even their friends had opinions about their unconventional relationship. In the small city of Amiens, people began to talk. Whispers and gossip spread quickly through the school and the community. Some teachers and parents questioned why a teenage student and his teacher were spending so much time together. Emmanuel and Brigitte were aware of the rumours, but they chose to focus on their connection rather than the judgment of others. Emmanuel's parents, Jean-Michel and Françoise, were particularly concerned. They valued Brigitte's influence on their son's education and personal growth, but they were worried about the potential scandal. They sat Emmanuel down one evening for a serious conversation. "Emmanuel, we can see that Brigitte has been a great mentor to you," Jean-Michel began. "But people are talking. We need to understand what is happening." Emmanuel took a deep breath. He respected his parents and wanted them to understand. "Mom, Dad, Brigitte is more than just a teacher to me. She challenges me to think differently, to dream bigger. I know people don't understand, but what we have is special." Françoise sighed. "We're not questioning her influence on you. We just want to make sure you're not getting hurt by all the rumours. I promise you, I'm okay. Brigitte and I have talked about this. We're being careful, and we know what's important," Emmanuel reassured them. Meanwhile, Brigitte faced her own challenges. She had children from her previous marriage, and they were confused and worried about their mother's relationship with a much younger man. Brigitte had to explain to them that her bond with Emmanuel was built on mutual respect and shared interests. It was not easy, but she was determined to stand by Emmanuel. One day, Brigitte invited Emmanuel over to her house for dinner. This was a big step, as it meant introducing him to her family. Emmanuel felt nervous but also excited. He wanted Brigitte's children to see him as a friend, not a threat. At the dinner table, Brigitte's children were quiet at first. Emmanuel tried to break the ice by talking about his favourite books and asking about their interests. Slowly, the atmosphere became more relaxed. By the end of the evening, they were laughing and sharing stories. Emmanuel felt a sense of relief. He knew it would take time, but he was willing to be patient. Despite these personal challenges, Emmanuel and Brigitte continued to thrive intellectually. They spent hours discussing various topics, from French literature to world politics. Brigitte introduced Emmanuel to new authors and ideas, and he absorbed everything like a sponge. Their conversations were a source of inspiration for both of them. One afternoon, they met at a quiet cafe to discuss a play they were planning for the theatre club. Over cups of coffee, their conversation turned to the future. "Emmanuel, have you thought about what you want to do after high school?" Brigitte asked. "I have. I want to go to Paris and study at Lycée Henri," Emmanuel replied with determination. "It's a prestigious school, and I think it will open many doors for me." Brigitte smiled. "That's a wonderful goal. I believe in you, and I know you can achieve it. But remember, the journey will be tough. There will be more challenges ahead." "I'm ready for them," Emmanuel said confidently. "And I'm grateful for your support." As the school year progressed, the pressure increased. Emmanuel had to focus on his studies and prepare for the rigorous entrance exams for Lycée Henri IV. Brigitte continued to mentor him, balancing her roles as his teacher and his friend. They both knew that their relationship would face more scrutiny if Emmanuel moved to Paris, but they were determined to make it work. The day of the entrance exam arrived. Emmanuel felt a mix of nerves and excitement. He had worked hard for this moment, and he wanted to make Brigitte and his family proud. Brigitte gave him a reassuring smile before he entered the exam hall. "You've got this, Emmanuel. Just do your best," she said softly. After hours of intense focus, the exam was finally over. Emmanuel felt exhausted, but hopeful. He met Brigitte outside, and they walked together in silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts. "I think it went well," Emmanuel said eventually. "Now we wait." Brigitte nodded. "Whatever happens, I'm proud of you. You've come so far, and this is just the beginning." Weeks passed, and Emmanuel tried to keep busy while waiting for the results. He continued to participate in the theatre club, and he and Brigitte worked on a new play. Their bond grew even stronger during this time, as they shared both the excitement and the anxiety of the unknown future. Finally, the letter arrived. Emmanuel held it in his hands, his heart pounding. He opened it slowly, reading the words carefully. He had been accepted to Lycée Henri IV. A wave of relief and joy washed over him. He rushed to Brigitte's house to share the news. She opened the door, and he could see the anticipation in her eyes. "I got in," he exclaimed, unable to contain his excitement. Brigitte hugged him tightly. "I knew you would. This is the start of something amazing for you, Emmanuel." As Emmanuel prepared to move to Paris, he and Brigitte faced the reality of being apart. They promised to stay in touch, to write letters and talk on the phone. Their bond had been tested and strengthened by the challenges they had faced together, and they were confident that it would endure. Emmanuel's last day in Amiens was bittersweet. He said goodbye to his family and friends, and Brigitte was there to see him off at the train station. They stood together on the platform, the train waiting. "Thank you for everything, Brigitte. I wouldn't be here without you," Emmanuel said, his voice filled with emotion. Brigitte smiled, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "You've worked hard for this, Emmanuel. Remember, this is just the beginning. Keep dreaming, keep striving, and never forget that I'm always here for you." With a final hug, Emmanuel boarded the train. As it pulled away from the station, he looked out the window and waved. Brigitte waved back, watching until the train was out of sight. She felt a mixture of pride and sadness, knowing that their journey together was changing but not ending. In Paris, Emmanuel faced new challenges and opportunities. He adapted quickly to his new school and continued to excel academically. The distance from Amiens and Brigitte was difficult, but their bond remained strong. They wrote letters regularly, sharing their thoughts, achievements, and dreams. Brigitte's influence stayed with Emmanuel, guiding him through the ups and downs of his new life. He knew that their unconventional bond had made him stronger and more resilient. It had taught him to believe in himself and to pursue his dreams with passion and determination. As Emmanuel settled into his new life, he realized that the journey ahead was filled with possibilities. He felt ready to face whatever came his way, confident in the knowledge that he was not alone. He carried with him the lessons he had learned and the strength of the bond he shared with Brigitte. Together, they had overcome challenges and defied expectations, and that gave him the courage to keep moving forward. Chapter 4. Parisian Dreams. Emmanuel Macron arrived in Paris with a mix of excitement and nervousness. The city was full of energy, with bustling streets, historic buildings, and a sense of endless possibilities. Emmanuel was here to study at the prestigious Lycée Henri Var, a school known for its high academic standards and rigorous curriculum. This was a big step for him, and he was determined to make the most of it. Moving from Amiens to Paris was a significant change. In Amiens, Emmanuel had been surrounded by his family, friends, and familiar places. In Paris, everything was new. He had to adapt to a faster pace of life and a more competitive environment, but Emmanuel was ready for the challenge. On his first day at Lycée Henri Carf, Emmanuel felt a bit overwhelmed. The school was large, and the students seemed very confident. Emmanuel found his classroom and took a seat, feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety. He reminded himself that he had worked hard to get here, and that he belonged. The teachers at Lycée Henri IV were demanding but fair. They pushed their students to think critically and to challenge themselves. Emmanuel thrived in this environment. He loved learning new things and discussing complex ideas with his classmates. His favourite subjects were philosophy and literature, where he could explore different viewpoints and develop his own opinions. Despite the excitement of his new life in Paris, Emmanuel missed Amiens and the people he had left behind, especially Brigitte. She had been a significant part of his life, guiding and supporting him. Now, with hundreds of kilometres between them, maintaining their connection was going to be a challenge. But Emmanuel and Brigitte were determined. They started writing letters to each other regularly. Every week, Emmanuel would sit down at his small desk in his dorm room and write to Brigitte. He shared details about his classes, his thoughts on the books he was reading, and his experiences in Paris. Writing these letters helped him feel closer to her and gave him a chance to reflect on his new life. Brigitte's letters were a source of comfort and encouragement for Emmanuel. She wrote about her own life in Amiens, her work with the theatre club, and her thoughts on the world. She always included words of wisdom and advice, reminding Emmanuel to stay focused and to believe in himself. Her letters were like a lifeline, keeping their bond strong despite the distance. On weekends, when Emmanuel didn't have too much homework, he would take the train back to Amiens to visit his family and Brigitte. These visits were a precious time for him. He cherished the moments spent with his parents and siblings and the conversations he had with Brigitte. During one of these visits, Emmanuel and Brigitte went for a walk in the park. It was a crisp autumn day, and the leaves were turning brilliant shades of red and gold. As they walked, they talked about Emmanuel's experiences in Paris and his plans for the future. "I'm so proud of you, Emmanuel," Brigitte said, smiling warmly. "You've adapted so well to life in Paris. I knew you would." "Thank you, Brigitte. Your support means a lot to me," Emmanuel replied. "Sometimes it's tough, but I'm learning so much. And it's exciting to think about all the possibilities." Brigitte nodded. "Remember, the key is to stay true to yourself and your values. No matter what challenges you face, if you hold on to who you are, you'll find your way." These visits and conversations with Brigitte gave Emmanuel the strength to keep going. They reminded him of his roots and the people who believed in him. Each time he returned to Paris, he felt recharged and ready to tackle his studies with renewed energy. At Lycée Henri IV, Emmanuel made new friends who shared his passion for learning. They would often gather in the evenings to discuss their studies and debate various topics. Emmanuel enjoyed these discussions immensely. They challenged him to think more deeply and to see things from different perspectives. One of his closest friends, Antoine, was particularly interested in politics. They spent hours talking about political theories, current events, and the future of France. These conversations sparked something in Emmanuel. He began to see how he could use his knowledge and skills to make a difference in the world. Emmanuel also joined a debate club at school. This was another way for him to hone his skills in critical thinking and public speaking. He found that he had a talent for articulating his ideas clearly and persuasively. The debate club gave him a platform to explore his interests in politics and philosophy further. Through his hard work and dedication, Emmanuel excelled at Lycée Henri IV. His teachers noticed his intelligence and passion, and they encouraged him to aim high. Emmanuel started to think seriously about his future. He knew that he wanted to continue his studies and perhaps pursue a career in politics or public service. But no matter how busy he was with his studies and activities, Emmanuel always made time for Brigitte. They continued to write letters and speak on the phone whenever they could. Their bond remained strong, and Brigitte's support was a constant source of motivation for Emmanuel. One day, as he sat in his dorm room reading one of Brigitte's letters, Emmanuel thought about how far he had come. He remembered their first meeting in the theatre club and all the challenges they had faced together. He realized how much Brigitte had influenced his life and how her belief in him had given him the confidence to pursue his dreams. In her letter, Brigitte had written, "Emmanuel, remember that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Keep pushing yourself and never lose sight of your goals. I believe in you." Emmanuel smiled as he read her words. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything Brigitte had done for him. Her guidance and encouragement had shaped him into the person he was becoming. He knew that their relationship was unconventional, but it was also special and invaluable. As the months passed, Emmanuel continued to excel at Lycée Henri IV. He stayed focused on his studies, made new friends, and explored his interests. And through it all, his bond with Brigitte remained a constant source of strength and inspiration. One evening, as Emmanuel looked out over the city of Paris from his dorm window, he felt a sense of peace. He knew that he was on the right path. He had big dreams and the determination to achieve them. And with Brigitte's support, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In Paris, Emmanuel found himself, his passions, and his purpose. His time at Lycée Henri Fabre was a period of growth and discovery, and it set the foundation for the remarkable journey that lay ahead. With each step he took, he carried the lessons he had learned from Brigitte and the confidence that their bond had given him. Chapter 5. A Love That Defies Odds. Emmanuel Macron was settling into his new life in Paris. He loved the energy of the city and the challenges of his studies at Lycée Henri Fabre. But no matter how busy or excited he was, a part of him always longed for the familiar comfort of Amiens, and, most of all, for Brigitte. Their relationship had always been special, but the distance made it even more meaningful. Emmanuel and Brigitte stayed connected through letters, phone calls, and occasional visits. Each interaction strengthened their bond and reminded them of their deep connection. Every week, Emmanuel eagerly waited for Brigitte's letters. She wrote with warmth and wisdom, sharing her thoughts and encouraging him to keep striving. Her words were like a beacon, guiding him through the challenges of his new life. Emmanuel would sit in his dorm room, reading her letters with a smile on his face. He felt closer to her with each word. In one letter, Brigitte wrote, "Emmanuel, I am so proud of you. Paris is just the beginning. Remember, no matter how far apart we are, I am always with you in spirit. Keep chasing your dreams." Emmanuel replied with equal fervour, pouring his heart into his letters. He shared his experiences, his thoughts, and his dreams with Brigitte. He told her about his classes, his new friends, and the exciting debates he had in school. He wrote about his growing interest in politics and how he wanted to make a difference in the world. Their phone calls were just as important. Late at night, after finishing his homework, Emmanuel would call Brigitte. They talked for hours, their voices bridging the distance between Paris and Amiens. They discussed everything from literature to philosophy, from everyday events to future aspirations. These conversations were a source of joy and comfort for both of them. One night, during a particularly emotional conversation, Emmanuel opened up about his fears. "Brigitte, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. The expectations, the pressure, it's a lot to handle." Brigitte's voice was gentle but firm. "Emmanuel, it's normal to feel that way. But remember, you are capable of great things. Believe in yourself just as I believe in you. Take it one step at a time, and you will achieve your dreams." Emmanuel felt a surge of confidence. Brigitte's belief in him was unwavering, and it gave him the strength to keep going. He realized that their relationship was not just about love, it was about mutual support and understanding. They were partners in every sense, lifting each other up and pushing each other forward. The weekends when Emmanuel visited Amiens were the highlight of their relationship. Each visit was filled with warmth, laughter, and deep conversations. They would walk through the parks, visit their favourite cafes, and spend hours talking about everything under the sun. These moments were precious, a respite from the hustle and bustle of Paris. During one visit, they went to a small bookstore in Amiens. Emmanuel loved browsing through the shelves, discovering new books and discussing them with Brigitte. They found a quiet corner and sat down with a book of poetry. "Look at this one," Brigitte said, pointing to a poem. It talks about dreams and determination. It reminds me of you. Emmanuel read the poem aloud, his voice filled with emotion. It's beautiful, Brigitte, just like our dreams. We may be apart, but our dreams keep us connected. Brigitte nodded, her eyes shining with affection. Yes, Emmanuel, our dreams are what keep us going. Never let go of them. Emmanuel returned to Paris with a renewed sense of purpose. He threw himself into his studies with even more determination. He wanted to make Brigitte proud and to prove to himself that he could achieve his goals. He participated in debates, wrote essays, and engaged in intellectual discussions with his peers. His teachers noticed his passion and dedication, and they encouraged him to aim high. Despite the distance, Brigitte continued to be a constant source of support. She sent him books, articles, and notes of encouragement. Each package from Amiens was like a treasure, filled with love and inspiration. Emmanuel kept them close, drawing strength from Brigitte's unwavering belief in him. One evening, as Emmanuel sat in his dorm room, he received a call from Brigitte. She sounded excited. Emmanuel, I have some news. Our theatre club has been invited to perform at a festival in Paris. Emmanuel's heart leaped with joy. That's amazing, Brigitte. When is the festival? It's in 2 weeks, Brigitte replied. I'll be coming to Paris with the students. I can't wait to see you. Emmanuel counted the days until the festival. When the day finally arrived, he went to the theatre to meet Brigitte. Seeing her after so long was like a breath of fresh air. They hugged tightly, their connection as strong as ever. The theatre performance was a success, and Emmanuel watched with pride as Brigitte directed her students. She was in her element, guiding and inspiring them. After the performance, they celebrated together, reminiscing about old times and dreaming about the future. As they walked through the streets of Paris that night, hand in hand, Emmanuel felt a deep sense of gratitude. Despite the odds, their love had only grown stronger. They had faced challenges, but they had also built a bond that was unbreakable. Their shared dreams and mutual support had carried them through. Brigitte, I am so grateful for you, Emmanuel said softly. You've always believed in me, and that means more than words can say. Brigitte smiled, her eyes filled with love. And I always will, Emmanuel. Together, we can achieve anything. As they stood there, under the sparkling lights of Paris, they knew that their journey was far from over. There would be more challenges ahead, but they were ready to face them together. Their love, their dreams, and their determination would guide them, no matter where life took them. Emmanuel returned to his studies with a renewed vigour. He knew that with Brigitte by his side, he could overcome any obstacle. Their bond, tested by distance and strengthened by shared dreams, was a testament to the power of love and support. They were partners, in every sense of the word, ready to take on the world together. You're listening to Woo English. If you enjoyed learning about Emmanuel Macron's remarkable journey, his groundbreaking contributions to France's political landscape, and the inspiring lessons from his life, please like and comment on the story. Chapter 6. The Turning Point. After years of hard work and dedication, Emmanuel Macron graduated from Lycée Henri Quaume with excellent grades. His next step was to study at Sciences Po and then the École Nationale d'Administration, ENA, two of the most prestigious institutions in France. These schools would prepare him for a successful career. Emmanuel's hard work paid off, and he excelled in his studies, gaining the knowledge and skills he needed for his future. Upon graduating from ENA, Emmanuel was ready to take on the professional world. He was offered a job at Rothschild and C Bank, one of the most influential investment banks in France. It was a significant opportunity, and Emmanuel was eager to prove himself. He moved into the world of finance with the same determination and passion he had shown in his studies. Emmanuel's first days at Rothschild were challenging. The world of finance was fast-paced and demanding, with high stakes and intense pressure. He had to learn quickly and adapt to the environment. But Emmanuel was no stranger to hard work. He threw himself into his job, eager to learn and grow. His colleagues noticed his dedication and intelligence, and he quickly earned their respect. In the evenings, after long hours at the bank, Emmanuel would often think about Brigitte. She had always been his rock, supporting him through every challenge. Now she was still in Amiens, working and taking care of her children. They kept in touch through phone calls and visits, but the distance was hard for both of them. Brigitte, meanwhile, was going through significant changes in her own life. She had decided to divorce her husband, a difficult but necessary decision. She wanted to start a new chapter, one where she could fully support Emmanuel and be closer to him. After the divorce was finalized, Brigitte made a bold decision. She would move to Paris to be with Emmanuel. When Emmanuel heard the news, he was overjoyed. The thought of having Brigitte by his side in Paris filled him with hope and excitement. He knew that having her support would make a world of difference as he navigated his career. They began to plan her move, finding a place where they could live together. Brigitte's move to Paris was a turning point in their relationship. It was a clear sign of their commitment to each other. They were no longer separated by distance. They could now share their lives fully. Emmanuel felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. With Brigitte by his side, he knew he could face any challenge. At Rothschild, Emmanuel continued to impress. He was given more responsibilities and started working on high-profile deals. His ability to analyze complex situations and find solutions made him a valuable asset to the bank. Emmanuel's hard work paid off when he played a crucial role in a major acquisition deal. This success earned him recognition and a promotion. Despite his demanding job, Emmanuel always made time for Brigitte. They would spend their evenings together, talking about their day and sharing their dreams for the future. Brigitte provided Emmanuel with the emotional support he needed, helping him stay grounded and focused. They were a team, facing the world together. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at work, Emmanuel came home feeling exhausted. Brigitte noticed the strain on his face and suggested they go for a walk. They strolled through the streets of Paris, enjoying the cool night air and the city's lights. As they walked, Brigitte spoke softly. "Emmanuel, you're doing amazing work, but remember to take care of yourself. It's important to find a balance." Emmanuel nodded, appreciating her concern. "I know, Brigitte. Sometimes it's hard to manage everything, but having you here makes it so much easier." Brigitte smiled, squeezing his hand. "We're in this together. I believe in you, and I know you can achieve great things." Emmanuel felt a wave of gratitude. Brigitte's unwavering belief in him was a source of strength. He realized that his success was not just about hard work. It was also about the support and love they shared. As time went on, Emmanuel continued to rise in the financial world. His reputation grew, and he was known for his intelligence, dedication, and ability to close deals. But he never let his success go to his head. He remained humble and focused, always remembering the values that Brigitte had instilled in him. Emmanuel and Brigitte also made time to enjoy life outside of work. They explored Paris together, visiting museums, theatres and restaurants. They enjoyed the simple pleasures of life, like cooking dinner together or taking a walk in the park. These moments of joy and connection kept their relationship strong. Their bond was further tested when Emmanuel was offered a major promotion. It was a fantastic opportunity, but it also meant even more responsibility and longer hours. Emmanuel discussed the offer with Brigitte, seeking her advice. "Brigitte, this promotion is a big step forward in my career, but it will require a lot of time and energy. What do you think?" he asked. Brigitte looked at him thoughtfully. "Emmanuel, I believe in your abilities. If you think this is the right move, I support you. Just remember to find time for us, no matter how busy you get." Emmanuel nodded, grateful for her understanding. "I will, Brigitte. Our relationship is the most important thing to me." With Brigitte's support, Emmanuel accepted the promotion. The next few months were challenging, but they managed to find a balance. Emmanuel continued to excel at work, and their relationship grew even stronger.